Hello, everyone. I'm Mona Magic, and I would like to thank you for joining us tonight on the topic that many people should really consider investigating a lot more information about. But you don't have to do that because we are going to bring it to you tonight. And tonight's topic is detoxification. But let me explain a little bit more about detoxification. I'm not talking about detoxification for just the body. I'm talking about detoxification for the BioMind and preparing you to really optimize yourself for accepting, doing, and performing various things of evocation and working with other realms that you may work within the rites, rituals, and everything else that you do within your path. Today's guest, or let's say tonight, depending on where you are, my guest is Jef Harvey. Hello, Jef. How are you doing?
Hello, how's the day coming?
It's been quite busy. It's been quite busy. You know me, and I'm always busy, and I know you are too. So we've got lots of information to cover, and really, I'd like to put one and two together because many people aren't aware of detoxification, of the BioMind, what that means, and how important it is to spirituality and working with various areas of evocation, spirit work, and all the above and below.
Absolutely. The BioMind is a term which covers a lot more than you might think. You might think, well, that's a cute, sexy term for your head, which couldn't be further from the truth because we have found over the many decades of mind research and brain research that your mind is actually outside of your body. So when we say biomind, we're talking about the bio side being everything in your body, including the nervous system, which is what we use as an antenna to do much of the work we do. The evocations, remote viewing, many of those operations are done with the assistance of the nervous system. Most people think that your nervous system is basically there just to help you feel your fingers and see through your eyes and ears, and that's all true, but it also happens to act as a huge antenna, talking about literally miles and miles of neurons and fibers, and it can be used as an antenna, which is what we do in remote viewing and in some evocations. So if your brain, which is the interface between the rest of your body and your mind, which is outside of the body, if those corporal pieces, the brain and the body, are not in a state where they can actually function at their highest level, then you don't get the quality of work out of your evocation or your meditation or your channeling, whatever it happens to be that you work on, your astral projections, your lucid dreaming. You find that they get a little weaker and they get a little fewer and far between. So the smart thing to do is to clean those systems up.
Hmm. Okay, when you talk about cleaning the systems up, are you talking about not reading bad information, not, watching, bad movies or hanging around the wrong people? Or are you talking about the biochemical makeup of our dietary needs and habits that we do have in life to actually detox ourselves? Because when people think of detoxification, mainly people think of dietary needs and readjustments.
Well, you make good points all, and the answer to your question is yes to all of those. Because first of all, any really intelligent person or someone who has been successful in their life will tell you one thing. You surround yourself with people who are very enlightened, who know more than you do, and you will learn from them and you will progress faster. If you surround yourself with people who are a lower vibratory frequency or can't think well or can't move well, or have strange aberrant personalities, what you're doing is you're surrounding yourself with failure instead of success. So one of the first things you can do is make sure you're functioning well. And the best way to do that is to clean up your extracellular matrix. And if you look at your body similar to an automotive that you drive every day for work, you take that vehicle in once or twice a year and you get the oil change to clean out all the shavings and filings and pollutants that get in there and screw up the inner workings of the engine and the other parts. The same thing happens in your body. We breathe in tons of toxins every year. And I don't mean tons per person, but there are millions of tons of toxin in the air. And we breathe that in, and our bodies, when they're in peak shape, they will excrete almost all of that out. However, the more of it that gets deposited that doesn't get excreted out, it keeps depositing more and more in the tissues, and it builds up into layers. And it actually will form a layer around your cells, and now your cells have trouble breathing, drinking in water for hydration, bringing in nutrients so they can actually produce the type of proteins and secretions that they need to make your body function. So what we do is we use homeopathics to clean that up.
Well, I have a question for you then, because, with vaccines, and you're talking about, when you get booster shots and things like that, or just the flu shot. The flu shot is just a huge viral shot that you put in your arm or wherever you get, wherever it gets put. And it allegedly is supposed to avert, the existing chemicals or, viruses out there, so you don't get them, so you become immune. So by detoxification of the pollutants around us, are we not allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable to really breaking down if we're so pure?
Okay. You made some good points again. First of all, there is no such thing as a good vaccine. Vaccines, they bypass your natural defense mechanisms, which are through your nose and through your mouth. If toxins enter through those two ways, your body has natural defenses. If it's poisonous, you'll vomit. You'll get rid of it. If you breathe it in through your nose will cover it with mucus, and you'll be able to expectorate that out. But if you bypass your natural defense systems by injecting something through your arm, you're basically bypassing what nature developed for you to actually defend yourself. It's bad science. It's been proven to be bad science, and only bad doctors will promote it.
Well, there are a lot of bad doctors out there.
Well, I'm just telling the truth, and most of them know it already. When I go to the VA hospital, they always ask me, have you had your flu shot? And I look at them like they're from Mars, and I ask them, have you? I have never had one individual tell me they got the flu shot in there. And I say, so why would you think I'm stupid enough to get it? And they say, well, we're required to ask you. So they know better. And they know that they've found them tainted with all kinds of things like hepatitis C and HIV. So you're taking your life in your own hands when you do something like that. You could literally use something like loracetin, and it's better than an antibiotic. It doesn't destroy your internal tissue or your internal flora, and it'll still wipe out the colds and flus, and it helps with Lyme and cytomegalovirus. So there's natural ways to solve these things.
I see. Okay, well then, let's say a person detoxifies themselves. Let's say that a person surrounds themselves with people who are, pretty much the same way, and positive influences. How often should that happen? Because you can't put yourself in a bubble the whole time. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna go by the smog. You'll pass the car that hasn't passed its emission or something like that test, and you'll probably really get sick on public transportation. So how are you going to bypass all this? How often should you detoxify yourself to really get yourself up to gear and recondition your body the way it should be?
Sure. You can't live in a bubble, obviously. So we have to go out there and make a living. So we have to be out in traffic in those places. And it was scientifically proven a few years ago that just a few minutes of diesel exhaust will literally increase the ability of a virus to connect into your cells much, much faster. So these things hit you. and they weaken your immune system. So what we recommend is you do something that most of us practitioners in the alternative health community do. We use the Heal Detox kit, and that's spelled HEEL. What it does is it uses homeopathic preparations, and it goes into the fluids that surround all your cells where the toxins are stored, and it helps your body release them into the excretion channels.
Okay.
And that usually, most of it happens from midnight down till about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So your first urination and defecation in the morning, most of that crud gets taken out. But if you're not able to excrete because you're so plugged up, it sometimes takes a month or two to get your body working again to the point where it's excreting well. So we do protocols where we take an inexpensive detox kit. I don't know what they are today. They're probably around 45 on the site. But what they do is they will gently start that process and get you starting to excrete again. And then over the course of a month or two, you wind up getting out entire decades of toxins out of that matrix liquid. And by combining that with support for the major organs that do that work, your kidney, your liver, your urinary tracts, and your lymph nodes, you wind up being able to keep that stuff coming out. And so what happens is if you do a kit once a year, you'll literally be able to excrete far more than you get coming in. And then you start building even stronger cells all the time. And now your nervous system's working better. Your brain is working better. The structures that are responsible for a lot of the things we experience, like the caudate nucleus, the hippocampus, the amygdala, the pituitary, pineal gland, and something that a lot of people don't take into account because they don't know much about it is the angular gyrus. All these sections get cleaned up from the toxins, and now they're functioning at least 40% better than they were, and you're actually able to connect to those fields of information that allow you an evocation or a lucid dream.
Okay, well, it seems like that's the missing link then, because if you are detoxified and you are healthy and you lead a very healthy lifestyle, you get enough sleep, you have a very good mental attitude, how does that all do or work with evocation and really working with connecting to other realms?
All right. Let's take, for instance, when we're children. When we're children, we all see images and entities floating around our room at night and other times. You see little children and babies that are, between 0 and 3 years old, and you see them pointing up at something in the corner of a room, and you look and you don't see it. For most people, not all. And what happens is those children have not learned that they can't see that, so they do. So as we get older, either our parents train out of us the ability to see that by saying, "Oh, that's not real, honey. Don't worry. That's not real. Don't worry. It won't harm you." Well, what was that? That was a parent who is scared shitless that they are literally seeing an entity speaking with their child. So instead of, if the child is giggling and pointing at it, obviously they're not being damaged. But what they should do is say, "What do you see? Tell mommy about it. Tell daddy about it." And that way they can find out what kind of communication is going on and develop those skills in the child. So what we do when we're older is most of us wind up trying to catch up with what we were when we were a child and redevelop what was trained out of us. So if you've got a really powerful body system, BioMind, which means your body is in peak performance, it's detoxed, and it can function at its optimum, you're about as close as you were to when you were a child. And if your mind is being trained using hermetic exercises, meditations, and things like that, that allow you to actually connect to those other energies, you're basically getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the point where you can go back to when you were a child and lucid dreaming happened all the time.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you about people who use substances for what you're talking about, because I have to say that many people would possibly argue with you that they could use drugs and other, perhaps even advanced natural systems such as mushrooms or various herbs to really help assist them with the heightened state and awareness that you're talking about. So, what is your take on that? Is it something positive that people can possibly do that you recommend?
It's not something I recommend. Almost everyone has the will to experiment. So telling someone don't experiment will help in about 80% of the cases, but there's another 20 that say, I'm doing it anyway. And what happens is they learn that they're altering their ability to naturally connect, and they're artificially connecting to these realms with a filter in place. So let's say you're using mushrooms, peyote, or whatever, or you're using LSD or some other psychotropic. While that may allow your brain to get into states, to go to other realms or see other things, you have a massive filter in the way of seeing naturally, which means that the pathways in the brain that you would naturally make doing it normally are not going to be there. You're going to have aberrant pathways developed, and the only way you'll be able to get back into that state is to go back and take probably even bigger doses to keep going, because your brain does habituate to chemicals as well as to frequencies and to many things. That's why someone who is exposed to constant pain, in the beginning, they may want to take their own life, but after a few weeks of it, their brain says, well, things aren't really that bad, and you move on through life. So your brain will habituate to things. And by adding in things that are artificial, you're plugging up your extracellular matrix and detuning your nervous system from being able to do that. I don't object to someone trying it once or twice, but if somebody is relying on that every month to do, I think basically what you're doing is you're creating more of a toxic environment and something that may be more difficult to detox from.
I see. So have you seen a difference in the detoxification from the people that you've actually worked with, or have you seen that it's a very hard process to do? Is it a hard process to do because you're talking about a lifestyle adjustment? Detoxification, the way we're talking about, is a lifestyle change, not necessarily an event that you actually go on a fast or take a couple of vitamins or cleanse yourself out. Is that right? Would I be right in saying something like that?
Well, that's the thing. If you're attempting to detox, your diet is one of the most important parts of it. We recommend that you get on a juicing regimen when you're detoxing, and don't leave it totally when you're done with your detox cycle, because you need high levels of nutrition to build better cells. If you feed yourself pizza and beer, every time your cells die off through normal apoptosis, which is regular cell death, and they regenerate weaker, not stronger. So if you're feeding great quality nutrients in, and by that I mean mostly plant-based, like 90-some% plant-based, you will learn to connect so much faster because the blood of a plant is the closest thing to the consistency and quality of the blood of a human. And the actual nutrient loading in a green juice is 10 times what you'll get in the best meal in the best restaurant. So my recommendation is to get moderate exercise every day. And we all know we should do that. Even if all you do is walk around the block fast a few times, who cares? You're breathing heavier and you're getting more oxygen flow in. Do the detox while you're juicing. And what will happen is you'll build quite a few much stronger cells, which will make a huge difference. And you'll wind up getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And by the way, being able to do a detox and stick to a regimen where your diet changes has everything to do with whether you have a weak or a strong mind. And we all know that the best way to build mental strength is going inside, and exercises are a great way to do that.
That leads me over to my next question in reference to the difference between someone who actually would have received some type of detoxification, because, I know that you can't live like a monk, but what would be the difference between someone who actually has detoxified versus someone who hasn't detoxified? Because there are many people who are self-proclaimed mages and practitioners who have successfully done evocation, who have successfully seen, interacted with any, or many apparitions, to people who have gone through advanced levels of lucid dreaming. So what's the difference here? I mean, is there a richness with detoxification here?
That's actually a great way to phrase it. The older you get and the more toxins are deposited in that extracellular matrix and surround your cells, the less nutrients can get in. So clearly, the less able your nervous system is to capture the full range of data it can when it goes out and picks that data up. Sure. Whether you're talking about the matrix or the Akashic record or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the richness of information that comes in and the accuracy of the information that comes in can suffer. You'll find that most of the most powerful folks that are a magus, or whether they're an apprentice or an adept, you're going to find the most successful ones, they take extremely good care of their eating habits. They put as much plant-based material in as they can, and they try and keep their systems pretty clean. We all enjoy perhaps a pint of beer or a cocktail from time to time, but we don't make it a nightly thing where we keep plugging up the system. Alcohol is a nice thing to indulge in small amounts from time to time. But if you do it on a regular basis, it converts into acetaldehyde in the brain, and it literally creates brain fog, which causes you to get aberrant states or lose control in the lucid dreaming state, or never even get to the lucid dreaming state. Maybe you're just having great astral dreams and you're not really becoming lucid, where you realize you're in one. And that means that when you're trying to control one of those, then it's even harder. So when you get into a lucid dream where you realize that you're in a dream state and you aren't able to control it like you normally would, that's a result of intoxication, whether it be from alcohol or toxin deposition or whatever. So yes, there are people out there that have great results and they never detox. But these are people who get diminishing returns on their results and inaccuracies in the information that they get. And that many of them won't admit to. And there's, as you know, there's many psychics out there who they will tell you that they're right all the time and they never make a mistake, never have an error, never anything wrong, because they have a financially vested interest in keeping that image up, when in fact it's not the case all the time.
Sure, definitely. Well, what would be the first act or the first step that someone should take? Because I do know that you sell quite a few many products on your site to help people along this way for the proper detoxification. Because I would like to say it's not about fasting at all, or it's not about someone just saying, okay, fine, I'm not going to eat chocolates for the rest of the week, therefore I am detoxifying. Detoxification has a lot to do with setting the system right and providing the system with the deficiencies that your body is lacking. So what would be the first steps that you would actually help someone based on their their physical and their biological and their spiritual needs?
If somebody sends me an email and they put in the subject line detox eval, and my email is jef@jeftech, which is tech.net, jeftech.net with one F. What I'll do is I'll send back a detox eval, and it's a little questionnaire that's in an Excel spreadsheet form. You answer a few questions, it gives you a total score, and you can literally see just how far down the deposition phase you are, and you'll know whether or not you can just do a light detox or whether
Hmm.
you need to do some support work first. So that would be the first thing, is to see how far your system has gone out of normal regulation. And it's easy. And this is an evaluation that was generated over many decades by one of the top homeopathic companies on the planet, who I'm a practitioner for. Now, the second,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No. And the second one?
The second thing would be to start eating like a human being and not a warthog. And what I mean by that is bring in as much plant-based material as you can into your system, because that will stimulate the nerve ending without 3 ribs of celery in it. And you want between 14 and 16 ounces per juice.
Okay.
So if you don't have a juicing machine, just eat more raw vegetable material, and you will get the live enzymes you need to help start upregulating the body. Snack on some celery, some carrot sticks, maybe some turnip, or chop up a rutabaga. But get as much of that material in as you can, because those live enzymes are what actually boost almost every single production that is accomplished in your body to do the things that you do if you're involved in these sort of affairs.
I see. Okay. And so you mentioned the actual, okay, that was 2. And 3?
Well, the next thing I would do is, if I'm basically starting out to see how toxic I am, and then I'm adding in the live enzymes,
Right.
which is the most important thing you could add, other than water and oxygen, then the next thing to do is to do some supplementation that will actually fill in the gaps if you don't have good quality food, which 90% of the crap that's on the grocery shelves today is either genetically modified or seriously nutrient deficient. So a good quality multivitamin and mineral supplement actually goes a long way to helping you build better cells. And it's not that expensive if you get a whole food version, because they're the best there is, not the stuff that's made from a petroleum base.
Wow. Well, I mean,
and that's all I.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's a huge. I mean, it seems simple, but I know that some people, have a hardest time stopping just one aspect of their, their sinful diet, and their sinful habits. So many people say, I'm going to die tomorrow, or I'll take that back. They're going to die tomorrow, and they can give a care about trying to fix things.
Look, I know exactly how they feel. I never expected to hit 30 years of age. And here I am, a little bit past that, and I'm looking back going, hey, I was supposed to die and leave a good-looking corpse. This isn't working quite the way I planned. So I'll give you a little secret that I use, and this works quite well. I use a spirulina and astaxanthin complex in one tablet. Now, spirulina is a blue-green algae that is unbelievably nutrient dense. It's got a load of vitamins, it's got a load of minerals, and it's got all of the essential amino acids you need to build strong structures in the body. It's so good that the military has recommended it for their long-range patrols, because you can literally live on that and water and still build good cells. And it's light, it's extremely nutrient dense, and they even recommended it if we go to Mars to do a manned mission to Mars. They recommended it as the lightest and highest potency food you could eat. What I did was I went one step further. I got one that has spirulina, but it has astaxanthin in it. And astaxanthin is basically one of the carotenoids that is the strongest, currently the strongest antioxidant we have. It's literally thousands of times stronger than things like quercetin and vitamin C and E. You're looking at a very potent antioxidant. And antioxidants are what stop the stress breakdown in the body and the mitochondrial breakdown, and allow you to actually get through a day without a lot of stress damage. So by taking something like that, I've put them up on my website in bulk purchases, that
Mm-hmm.
are literally much lower than the leading competitor. So the leading competitor puts out like, I don't know, 360 tablets for about $49.60. I put out that same number of tablets for 48 bucks and change, and then I add an extra 180 tablets on top of that. So you can bulk buy this stuff and literally take them in a good dose level that keeps the nutrient levels up.
You re-personified really my body is my temple because true enough, no matter what you want to, let's just say, discredit what you're saying, and without a healthy body, you cannot function. You cannot go about doing your rituals, really even surviving through lucid dreaming. Because there have been many instances where people have even died during, the actual seeing through, lucid dreaming. Even I've heard of a person actually dying through transing. So you do have to have a healthy body, that's for sure. No matter what anyone may want to discredit what you've said, your body is your temple. So with that, I'd like to ask you in closing, when you're talking about combining all of this together, have you seen that it comes to a point that you have done it too much, or does the actual situation change? Where is it you have to up it? You have to pretty much fast more, or you become quote unquote like one of those monks that just doesn't eat this way, just doesn't converse with anyone, just basically has a boring life. Can you actually have a life and be detoxified just to be healthy? I know that may seem like a silly question, but many people out there feel that unless you're doing drugs, booze, and having a good time and doing all what you want to do and living it up, it's not worth it.
Well, that's the difference between an adult and a child. I mean, if
Indeed.
you have a child and you give them a choice, they will eat candy all day. If you have an adult who actually cares about what they're doing, then they are going to care for their body. The people who want to do drugs all the time and go out and party all the time, these aren't people who will be successful at evocation and some of the hermetic arts. They will have sporadic successes, but these are not people who become adepts. They don't have the ability or the mind control to rein themselves in and have a little self-discipline to get where they want to go, which is why they're just experimenting with different things. They just don't have the capacity to lock in, train, and move forward. So the answer to your question is yes, you can live a normal life, but I don't consider going out and partying every night normal.
Yes,
That's what
indeed.
children do when they haven't matured.
I would agree with you 100%. Although I have seen many people out there who figure that they can purchase, the nearest grimoire, or to participate in, the nearest group, and read up on a particular path and do things without the actual, let's say, biological preset before going into various rituals or evocation, and then go on about their merry life. So it is about a discipline. It is about a lifestyle, and I'm glad that you put a re-emphasis on that about childlike versus being an adult.
It's one of the hardest things people go through as they're maturing, trying to determine what in life is worth doing and what's worth sacrificing to get what we want. And so there's an old saying that most people, once you get around 40 or 50, they hear this several times. And it basically is there are only so many books that you can read the rest of your life with the time you have left. Choose wisely.
Hmm.
And so if they were to teach that to children in kindergarten, you would find people who are maguses before they actually left high school. And it would be because they actually had good training from their parents all the way up. But that doesn't mean just because you didn't have great training as a child that even at 40 or 50 or 60 years of age, you can't undo decades of that. You certainly can. You can undo decades of damage. You can reprogram your mind. You have hermetic exercises, which are fantastic for that. You've got neurolinguistics programming that once you learn it, You'll learn how to talk to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You'll learn what modalities are important to you, and you can literally reprogram your mind and get phenomenal benefits. And I've watched it happen constantly with people that are in their 50s and older. So there's absolutely tremendous hope for those who decide to just jump in and get started at whatever level they're at or whatever age they're at.
Well, you offered a wealth of information. I'd love everyone to check your website out at jeftech.net, because I've checked it out, and it's like a online encyclopedia and full of information. You've got so much information crammed into your site that it's not something that you just skim over, because most people are used to those 140 characters. Your site is not 140 characters by any chance. So I'd love for everyone to visit your site. Jef, thanks for joining me tonight, and we look forward to the upcoming videos that we've got. And everyone should check those out on Radionics, which should be coming up in the following week. So do check that out. And Jef, thanks again.
All right. Thanks again, Mona, and thanks for being the example for everyone.
Thank you very much.